Hello there, this is James from James Norris World Traveler, and today I'm going to be talking about something a little different than the last video that I did. Before I was talking about attractions and stuff like that in some of the cities that I've been to in Europe. So I'm going to be talking about a tour company that's a little bit off the beaten path kind of tour company that is not the typical tour company, like for example, like Cosmos or Trafalgar or um, Top Deck, where they have set scheduling. They have all these components that are together, and I wanted to talk about this company because they're a little bit different compared to those. I actually went in 2017, and I know it's a year later, but I really wanted to talk about it because I feel like it's something that I wanted to kind of give an informative about. Instead of giving you information, oh, just do this, do that. I'm gonna kind of give you something a little different in this video. Uh, the company that I'm talking about is Busabout, okay? And I'm gonna give you 10 things about this company, specifically the hop on, hop off part of the company, where you can go around Europe and it's just 10 different things that I found interesting about this company. So here I go. Before I actually get into the 10 things, I want to say one more thing, by the way. Any information that I give is just on an information basis to kind of give people an idea of how I perceived it. So it's my opinions. Some of them are facts. So if you are ever thinking about taking Busabout, do your due diligence and your research, because things do change with companies, and that goes for any company. So always just check in with either your local travel agent that you deal with or somebody that you know or anything like that. Always check in with them, or even with the company, because sometimes things change, sometimes by year, usually by year, sorry, but normally they try to sometimes change things for their for the benefit of the customer, as well as uh, sometimes to cut costs, to make things a little bit better, to make it a little bit easier, or whatnot. I said it's all based on economics. Anyway, so I'm going to start at number one. They sell passes which you have to purchase. Uh, they have 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and I think they have also 3 weeks. Uh, so the prices of these passes are really, really good. For example, last year when I purchased my pass, I paid, it was 10% off. Regular price was $599 Canadian, but it was on for 10% off. I paid $540 approximately. And like I said, it varies. So I paid for a 2 week pass, and that's how much it cost me at that time. So the prices for the passes are usually really good for what you get. Okay, so number two. So each day that you're on Busabout from point A to point B, for example, if you're going in my circumstances, if you're going from Prague to Krakow, or from Berlin to Prague or something, right? Um, that is considered 1 day out of a 14-day pass. So for each day that you're on the bus, that would be 1 day out of the pass that you use. So if you have a 30-day pass, a 4 week pass, it's usually 30 days. for me, I had a 2 week pass, so that's 14 days for each day that you're on the bus from point A to point B. That's considered 1 day out of the pass's use. So it's still really, really cool because you could go for a month and don't even use the full 2 weeks, or pretty close. Anyway, the company also has excursions for basically every city or town that they go to. Prices vary for the cost of it, but I'll give you an example. When I went to Krakow, I decided that I wanted to do my own thing. So I went to Auschwitz by myself and paid for that separately because I did it on my own. Such as when I went and decided to do something with Busabout-10 tour, I decided to do the Wilichka salt mines, which was the other tour that they offered, and I paid for that. At the time, I paid 34 euros, which is about $51 Canadian, and that was actually not bad of a deal. I would have paid 70 euros had I combined them both, which would have been cheaper. Actually, I think they actually originally they were charging I think 38 for one individual, but for both it would have been 34 each, or both combined it was 70 euros. So, which was not bad, I guess, at the time. So always double check with the company because it varies by year to year. But I found it was still pretty good price for the city tour. I also paid for another one in Florence. It was 24 euros, I believe, at the time for an excursion within Florence. It was I'm not even going to get into that. Sorry. It was like 24 euros, and it was still a really good deal because of what they offered. It was called Welcome to Florence package. Anyway, so they do offer for almost basically every city. They offer a variety of different choices depending on where you're at. Anything from wine tasting, tour in Italy to pub crawling in Krakow or Berlin, Amsterdam, that kind of thing. So even skydiving and rappelling in Switzerland, I believe. I do remember that because I didn't take it because I didn't go there, but they have a good variety of things to offer. But if you're interested in doing your own thing, that could be cheaper, depending on even more cheaper than doing something with the company. But they do offer in basically every city and town, so they have a good variety of stuff to choose from if you are interested in anything that they do. So number 4, hostels. You can pick any hostel you want within the city. The thing about the hostels that they offer generally more than one hostel within each city or town. Not always. It's based on what they decide based on their what they're able to get within the city, and sometimes maybe you only have one option, but generally you can get multiple options. So they do have usually a really good variety. The prices are usually pretty good. If you go in the early summer, sometimes the prices are a little bit higher based on demand, of course. But I went in September, October, so I paid as low as 6 euros a night in Prague to $22 euros. That's in euros. In Rome. So they vary in prices, and the times that you go, depending on when you go at the time of year, the prices vary. So always double check the prices. And for the most part, every hostel that they choose that I've been in, and I was in like multiple ones, right? They usually choose the best. So you do have a good chance of having a really good hostel. I think the worst hostel I was in was probably in Split. It was, just happens to be that they didn't have the best hostel, but it varies. Uh, so for the most part, you get a very good hostel, uh, and you got several choices. So a lot of times it's a really good deal for any of the hostels, and they usually pick some of the best hostels out there. Number 5, major cities and small towns. The awesome thing about this company is that they're always looking for other places to go. Sometimes the options don't always change, but they're always looking at expanding where they go and how they where they go, so that they have options. And they're not always in the same areas. Usually, the same cities and towns vary, such as major cities such as Berlin, Amsterdam, Krakow, um, Split, and the like. And then some of the smaller towns offered are Lake Como, Bratislava, Zakopane, Zagreb. Some of the smaller towns that you could go to are optional. But the nice thing about it is you can have the hustle and bustle of a large city, or you can have the relaxed, chilled out version of a city and make it a small town. So that is one of the nicest things about this company, is that the options are there for where you want to go. Okay, so the next thing is number 6, great drivers and guides. With everybody's personalities, you never know what kind of personality you're going to get for a driver and guide. So you could have a guy who's very serious and very, very into, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. We got to do it this way. To a guy who's very laid back, who's like, oh yeah, you guys do whatever you want, just as long as you're going to be, not doing anything illegal or that kind of thing. So you have like a variety of type of personalities with drivers and with tour guides. Most of them, honestly, to be honest with you, they're all very knowledgeable. The ones that I had one gentleman who was very knowledgeable, and I had him for about 70% of my trip. I had one guy who was for one portion of my trip, and then I had a lady who was only for my last part of my trip, and they were all really wonderful people. I didn't get to know all of them very well, but the one guy I was able to, because I saw him on about, like I said, about 70% of my trip. So you have a nice wide range of people of all ages. Generally speaking, they're not that old. They're not like 70 or something like that, but you have a nice mix of people. So that's what I love about this, is the drivers and the guides specifically. They're very knowledgeable on the cities and towns that we're going to, as well as the drivers that are really good at driving and navigating the roadways. So you have a very safe and enjoyable trip. And you get to hear a lot of knowledge from these people. So that's awesome. Number 7, they span 38 destinations and 14 countries. So I'm going to keep this one brief because really you hit the major countries in Europe. They only go to the safe places. They're never going to go to anywhere where you're gonna have issues. Okay, if it's not safe, they're not going to go there. So you have a nice mix of places that you can go to. You can choose to go in one section of area and maybe get 3 to 4 countries, or you can go to 10 countries, or you can go to all countries depending on how long you're there. So that's the awesome thing, is You have choices on the countries that you have, the cities and the towns, and that's awesome. And so, yeah, that's what I love about this as well. This company. Number 8, major cities. You have to stay at least one night, of course, because that's the main point, that they stay in one night. If you're going to do one of the optionals, you have to stay at least 2 nights based on their routing and when they leave. So you have to check into that. Generally speaking, you're able to kind of change sometimes based on their apps. They have to be able to change. Maybe you want to stay an extra couple nights. You can stay a couple extra nights in, say, for example, Prague, Berlin, Amsterdam, maybe on the east side, in Croatia. Or you can take one of the smaller towns. You want to stay a few extra nights in one of the other smaller towns, such as Zagreb, Lake Como, Bratislava. I think even Prague is now considered one of the smaller towns on their map, because it's the major city, but I think on their map now it's actually considered a small town due to their routing on how they have it. So you do have options, but you have to stay at least one night in a major city, and then 2 nights in a small town, one of the smaller towns. So that's a nice thing. If you just want to chill and relax for a couple nights, you can stay in Zakopane for a couple nights. Chill, relax, see the small town atmosphere, as well as the major city of hustle bustle, as I said earlier, in one of the bigger cities like Budapest, Prague, Krakow, that kind of thing. So it's really nice. You can spend one night there. You can spend 3 nights there, depending on how you decide to do your routing. Number 9, all the cities and towns that they go to are safe and awesome. Of course, I can't give you a lot of insight in a lot of the cities and towns, but what I can tell you is the cities and towns that I've been into. I only went into the major cities, and all the major cities that I've been to, I can tell you, are very, very safe. Generally speaking, as long as you keep your wits about you, always have that in mind, that there's always a possibility that something could happen. Usually things don't happen for the bad. You're going to get things that will happen if you're silly, or if you get too drunk and you don't even think about the factors that could cause issues. You could have something happen to you. Oh, this guy's drunk. Well, the thing is, sometimes it will happen that if you're not safe and you're not in your right frame of mind, because some people like to party, that's not an issue. That's the whole point of being in this situation where you're in the small town or a big city. You want to party. But always remember, there's always a risk that something could happen to you if you don't keep the wits. Even if you're drunk, you can still keep your wits. You can still drink and have fun. Always, 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 always keep your wits about you, even if you're drunk or drinking, and you can still have a good time. Make sure you always keep your vigilant with stuff like that. So always remember that they're safe and they're awesome. And as long as you keep your mind clear enough, even when you're drinking, normally you reduce the risk of being a victim in any circumstances, whether you're with this company, Busabout, or any company. So just remember, they're always safe. They're not going to take you anywhere where you're not going to be safe. Always talk to the driver, see where not to go. If there might be an area of the city that might not be safe, don't go there. Always keep your wits with you, even when you're drinking. So again, I know I've said that more than once, but that is the thing. It's safe and it's awesome. So keep that in mind. Always keep your wits about you, and things will be fine. So that's awesome. Number 10, independent and cheaper alternative to your typical tour company. Like I said, Busabout, normally when you look at the costing of stuff, I mean, sometimes there's always a factor when they're factoring in pricing. There's always, okay, the cost of a bus, the cost of these places that you go to within the daily tour things. Like, for example, you're going to this place or you're going to that place. Maybe they have excursions. They're always going to have that costing in there. And so if you're looking for it to be more independent touring with that little bit of element of, oh, you can go take some tours, or maybe you don't want to, that's fine too. That's even cheaper. Like myself, I went and did a lot of self-touring, which saved me a lot more money. I did a couple tours, excursions with them, so I still saved myself a little bit of money by doing my own stuff as well. So with Busabout, the nice thing is it's an independent thing. You're not obligated to take any of their tours or their excursions, as well as with the living arrangements when you're in the cities, because it's so much cheaper, like 20 euros for a hostel, anywhere from 20 euros down to, like, in like my case, 6 euros a night in Prague. Like, honestly, you can't go wrong. But also remember, demand warrants sometimes going up a little bit. So if you go on a little bit cheaper time of the year, for example, in September and October, they do lower the prices sometimes because they want people to come in off season as well. So those off seasons, sometimes you go a little bit cheaper when it's closer to the end of the season. So in the end, always, always, always remember that an alternative company like this is awesome. It is. It really is. And I would always recommend, if you're looking for very, very cheaper, or sorry, a lot cheaper, very good quality. Yes, there are flaws. I will admit there has been flaws in some of it, in some of the situations. Like, for example, their app. I have to admit, their app, there has been issues that I've heard about, but that goes with anything. Overall, this company is one of the best independent and cheaper companies to go for out of any company that I've ever been for. And just because there's elements to it and you don't have to spend as much. So, like, and honestly, like I said, cheaper accommodations, cheaper, sometimes excursions can be cheaper, but depending on what you're doing. And because it's independent, you only have to pay for a pass. So other stuff you have to do, kind of like, for example, of course you have insurance you have to pay for, flights, and all these other things that do add up a little bit. But I'm going to tell you, when I went in 2017, I probably paid comparatively, with this company, with everything that I included into it, I paid about a half, maybe a third of the price of my typical tour company. I paid about between $2,200 to $3,000, somewhere in there. That's approximately. That includes my flight, accommodations, even when I include the excursions that I took, and the cost of local currency, as well as a few other things. Overall, the cost of this company is so much better. So if you're looking for an alternative, this is definitely the company I would recommend. So again, thank you very much. It was the top 10 things about this company that I wanted you to know. I know it's a slightly longer video. I appreciate you listening to this video. I hope you really like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. I'm going to be doing some more videos in the near future, so look forward to seeing some more videos on several different topics. Probably is going to be a topic about my previous experience with other companies as well as some more videos on some of more of the local excursions that I had experienced when I'm in the destinations, because I still got to do those. So look forward to some more near future videos. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, give it a thumbs up or a comment. Let me know what you think about it, so I can make better content and whatnot. Thank you very much, and have yourselves a wonderful day, everybody, and see you in the near future.